The CVC deal, so 300 million quid for 27% stake and the right to commercialise or to exploit the commercial rights of the Six Nations, which means doing all the sponsorship deals and having all the bits and bobs, the accoutrements, making money off the back of that basically, and then also the TV deals. I think everybody has still got a very old-fashioned view of TV deals where if a match is not on terrestrial TV, you're missing this huge mass audience. But is that mass audience genuinely interested? Or is that just the only thing that's on TV at that point?
That's important though, isn't it?
Is it? Like, how important is it?
Like the passing fan, like sport should not just be for the hardcore fans who will pay for your Sky Sports subscription.
Ultimately, how important? Like, what is that pass? What's the point of somebody who isn't actually genuinely interested, who's just like sitting there, couch potato, flick, 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 flick. I'm gonna watch 10 minutes of this, flick, flick. What's the value of that person?
Well, like that's a very intangible thing to put on paper. Like what? Like, are you talking about the wider appeal of the sport? Like, are you talking about?
Go back to the success of the Premier League. Like the Premier League went on Sky and it exploded. The darts isn't a bad example, right? Because the darts is this thing that they.
What about cricket though? Is another example.
Talking about cricket, cricket seems to have made a massive comeback in the last 12 months, where England got good. England, after years of being crap, got good, and suddenly it's absolutely everywhere.
So not good portions of last year's World Cup on free to air. I was watching the World Cup final, and my mum was watching the World Cup final on Channel 4 before we went to watch Kerry Mayo in the Super 8s last year. That is the exact point. People who had no interest in a good portion of sport were suddenly talking about cricket. Of all, like, it had been completely in the.
To what end?
Like, this is the point.
What's the point of that?
Like, see, this is the question. Like, like, are you looking for like
a spike? Are you a stump and bales?
Are you looking for like, I mean,
getting bats or getting the pads?
Are you looking for a spike in participation rates? Are you looking for people conversing about quicker rates? Like, to what end are you talking about?
So
what are you looking
here's
for?
the thing: what boosts participation rates is actually.
But is that what you're looking for? Participation rates?
I'm not saying that. I'm just let me finish at this point. What boosts participation rates has not been having stuff on TV. Generally, if we look at the Olympics, there isn't a surge. Always free to air. There isn't a massive surge in people joining.
What about the Women's World Cup last year? We saw that in the paper yesterday.
Just let me finish, right? Because, that's a one-off, and it's specific to a women's sport which has been chronically underfunded for decades and decades and decades. So, of course, there's room for those sports to grow. You take athletics, there is not a spike in people actually joining clubs, because when you go and look to try and join a club, there's either no room or there's no coaches. So, is a sport like rugby well set up to actually increase participation rates, if that's the criteria, by using the 300 million quid to employ a bunch of coaches?
Well, I'm asking you, is that the criteria? Is that the criteria?
Well, you're the one who's saying that we need these passerby, average sports fans who are sitting on their couch, flip, 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 flip. Like, otherwise they're just empty eyes for the TV stations to sell ads to.
Does that not turn into actual people showing up at matches and paying for tickets?
Where's the evidence?
Like, like, where's the evidence for people showing up to the hardcore base showing up to cricket matches? Has that gone off the face of the earth? Their attendances at matches?
I think that, like, the assumption that because cricket screwed up means everything is also going to screw up. Explain to me how darts got popular on terrestrial with one terrestrial TV thing that everybody complains about.
It's a great point. Like with darts, it's almost. You'd be scratching your head as to how this happened if you are using other examples. My point is that football will always survive because it is the most important sport in the world. It is the most popular sport in the world. And because the fact that a lot of people actually watch rugby and don't play it means it has this huge... we have this almost strange love affair with rugby in this country, that everybody talks about it, everybody loves the game, and most people haven't picked up a rugby ball. So it's vastly different to football, where, like, basically every playground in Ireland is full of kids kicking a ball around. That's hugely different. These are not the same things.
Bear in mind, if you want to watch any match, like a Six Nations match, it's going to cost you a tenner. Essentially, it'll cost you a tenner and you can get it streamed to your TV. By the time this deal is finished, everybody's going to be able to stream that match onto their TV for a tenner. Are we really saying that that's the end of rugby, and that it's such a fragile sport that the investment that the unions are going to get, which they presumably are going to invest in coaching and playing and facilities, is counterbalanced by the fact that average Joe and Josephine sitting on their couches are not actually watching the game?
Well, average Joe and Josephine may actually after watching a game or two, get caught into the whole nationalistic aspect of the Six Nations.
And maybe they'll pay a tenner to get that.
Game comes to the Aviva Stadium, they might actually pay to go watch a game. They may be one of the people who are going up, getting pints and not interested in the game, but they are putting money through the RFU coffers. Maybe you'll say we don't want those people involved in the game.
I won't.
We're packing out the Aviva Stadium for a sport that a lot of people just haven't played. A lot of people in the Aviva Stadium have never picked up a rugby ball and are still there. They're still funding money to the organisation that is funding money into the grassroots, which I guess is your measurable thing.
The Aviva will sell out for rugby forever because the corporate tickets for the games.
Well, the corporate section will always be full.
Exactly, and for the Six Nations now, November internationals maybe a different story, probably a very different story.
It'd be interesting. Like I don't know, a lot of the November internationals are behind a paywall now. I'd be very interested to see where this is after 5 years of being behind a paywall, because we're not going to see. It's
a tenner to get a match.
We're not going to see this after 1 year. This could be like a stepping stone. There's talks this morning of potential 1 game behind a paywall and the rest free to air. That becomes 2 games the season after and 3 games. Yeah. And then eventually it becomes all behind a paywall.
There'll be 1 game every weekend, which will be free to air.
I would be very interested in where the sport goes after 5 years of the Six Nations, and which basically is the last bit of rugby free to air, when that goes behind a paywall. I'd be very interested when the whole sport.
But they're not going to put everything. They're not going to. It's unlikely they're going to put everything. There'll be 1 game every weekend. Now it might be Ireland-France, or it might be Ireland-Italy, and not everybody's going to tune into that. But there'll be highlights programs, and anybody who's interested in it, who has a genuine interest in it.
The genuine fans are not going to be affected by this. No question about that.
They'll spend a tenner, and casual with people will more than happily spend a tenner to watch a sports event in the comfort of their home if the game is big enough.
And also, this may play into your point of view, there is a huge pub culture around the Six Nations. That obviously doesn't get affected by this. But
no.
I put value on Josephine and Joseph that have become now famous.
Yeah, what we need to do is define how important those people are, because ultimately we're deciding public policy on the basis of people who don't really give a shit about sport, who just want to sit and be entertained for nothing at home.
The question is, it's going to happen. The home nations want to remove. They're against the idea of it becoming completely immune from pay-per-view.
Yeah, they are, but they also want to make sure that some of it is on free to air. So, look, we'll come back to this. 21 minutes past 8 this morning. Shot Clock is next. First, after his big win at the weekend, off the ball caught up with Graham McDowell.